Hi everybody, for our horse management article this week, I wanted to do proper grooming techniques. And since it's easier to show you guys, I thought I'd do a video. I'm going to be grooming one of my first horse. Her name's Ellie, and she's almost 30 years old. She's one of my older ones, but she's just now shedding. So she's a great example for proper shedding/grooming techniques. So let's get started. So the first thing that you should probably start with a horse that's shedding is a shedding blade. I prefer the ones that are more like a loop than the big circle ones because the hair falls off easier. So let's get started with this. So what you do is you basically go in the direction of the fur. You go in the direction of the fur, and what you want to do is you just want to kind of lightly, but still with a little bit of pressure, get the hair off. You want to always go in the direction of the fur, and you want to try and get all of the loose hair out before you can do anything else, because if you don't get all this hair out, it kind of just sits there until they roll or they itch up on something, and it can be really itchy. And then it can also get your saddle pads really dirty. With the shedding blade, you never want to do the legs or the face, because with the legs, their muscles and their legs stop about here, and then it's only ligaments and tendons. So if you brush something with that really hard, you can actually injure a ligament or tendon in their face, just because it's really sharp by their eyes and you don't want to cut them. So generally I just want to do this. Now she's really shedding, so it would take about a few weeks or a few days of shedding her out before she gets all of her hair. So just for this video, I'm not going to finish completely getting all the hair off, but I'll move to the next step. But generally you'd want to get all this loose hair kind of off before you moved on, but she's got a lot of hair. So the next tool you want to use when you're grooming is a curry comb. Now, if you have a clipped horse, don't use the shedding blade or the curry comb. But if your horse has full hair sheet, it's fine. So there's different styles of curry comb. They all work the same. I like the ones with the bigger tines when they're shedding, because I can get the fur out easier than the smaller ones. But these are a little bit harder on them. So if you have a more sensitive horse, you want to use one with a little bit smaller little pokies. So with the curry comb, what it does is it basically brings the dust and dead hair and fur from the underneath side of the fur because of the way that the brush is made. And you always want to go in a circular motion with the curry comb, because that's what gets the hair to stand up, and that's generally how it gets all the stuff underneath. Some horses really like it. It's actually really good for like massaging if you have a horse with some issue points. It's also really good to stimulate blood circulation after you ride. So we'll get all this. Again, with the curry comb, we don't do the legs or the face. So then see how this one, you can just pull all the hair out super easy. That's why I like these ones. But yeah, again, if you have a sensitive horse, I would recommend it. So then once you kind of get this all curried, and you can kind of see she's really dusty, she must have rolled a lot today. Kind of get underneath her belly. Also, curry combs are great for those dried on stains when they lay in their pee and their poop, because it gets it to soften up. She doesn't really have any of those. I'm lucky, she stays pretty clean. Alright, so then after you're done currying, oh, you're so shiny. Then we take what we call a dandy brush or a stiff brush. They have kind of stiffer, longer bristles, and this is really good to finish off getting all that dirt underneath the skin and getting all the fur out. So you just brush with the fur. Now with these ones, if you have a horse that's not super sensitive, you can go on the legs, and I would not recommend the face. But if you have a horse, she's not very sensitive and she's kind of dirty on her legs, so you can just keep going with the fur. You should be okay with a stiff brush on the legs. So then once you kind of get all that extra fur off to the best of your ability, when they're really shedding, it can take a few days again. And this also, grooming really helps stimulate all the oils in the hair to come up, and it's good for their coat growth. So after I kind of get all that done, the next step would be a soft brush, which I will get right there. So a soft brush or a body brush has a lot softer bristles, And you can use them all over the body. And they're basically used to kind of get the dust off, kind of sticks to them. I know she kind of looks worse, but that's just because I got all the dust off and all the hair. And use all their legs, get kind of all that mud off their legs. It's also good to make sure you get all the mud off their legs because they can get scratches. And a good way to prevent the legs from getting scratches is to keep the mud off and keep them dry. So then once we kind of brush all the hair off. And if your horse, let's say you're before a lesson and you want your horse to look a little bit better and you don't want a bunch of dust and dirt that still stays on because of wind and all that stuff, what I usually do is I take like just plain water, this is fly spray but it will work, or alcohol, and you just kind of spray a little bit on the horse, not enough to get them soaking wet but just a little bit, and then if you brush, as you can see over here, the dust kind of goes away and the fur sticks better to the brush. And then it dries easy and it makes your horse look a little bit better before your lesson. And then there you go. Don't use alcohol too much because it can dry out the fur. But if you have like a little spray bottle of water or fly spray in the summer, that works really well. So see how she looks so much better now? And then I can do like her face. When you go on her face, just be gentle. Some horses don't like it, so make sure you carefully go in first. And just, oh, we're so dusty, Ellie. Okay. And then the next thing you should do after you finish all that is you should pick their feet. I'm assuming that you guys all know how to pick horses' feet, and she can be kind of stubborn, so we'll see how this goes. So what you want to do, camera, can you come around, is you want to stand safely next to the horse, and you want to run your hand down the back of their leg, and just kind of push on them to get their foot to go. Okay, easy, good girl. And then you pick it up. She doesn't like keeping her foot there, but if you were going to pick it out, always away from you so that you don't stab yourself. And also, if your horse's feet are looking a little dry, or perhaps like hers are, you can take a little bit of hoof oil and put that on the hoofs. I would recommend doing this after riding because you will get all the arena dust stuck in there. So you kind of just want to make sure you get really up close to the coronary band because that's where the hoof growth starts, like your nails. And then you can just kind of coat it. There you go. I'm only going to do one for this video. And then the last thing that I do after they look a little bit cleaner is I brush their mane and tail. Now, I know some people kind of get iffy about doing the mane and tail because they feel like they're going to pull out all their hair. And that is true if you don't do it often. So if you do it often and with the right stuff, you're not going to pull out their mane and tail. But you should always spray it with something like Shoshin or Detangler, or this is like MTG mane and tail oil before, so you don't rip out a ton of their hair. And her mane falls to the other side, but that's okay. So you just kind of squirt some on. And it's just like brushing your hair. You start from the bottom and work your way up. And see how when I kind of grease it up a little bit, it doesn't make that horrible ripping sound, and it keeps it from tearing. See, I'm not really getting any out. And this also prevents, it actually prevents hair from falling out because you get all the dead and split ends out. And you keep the oils coming through their mane. So that's how you brush their mane. And then going to the tail, it's kind of the same thing. She's got kind of a little tail, but that's okay. Gonna just spray some MTG oil on it. You can use whatever you want, Shoshin, Veteran, whatever. And you just wanna start at the bottom, little short strokes. Just like how you brush your hair, you don't wanna rip your head off, so just nice and easy. And you just wanna do your whole tail until it's not dreadlocked. This is good for making sure that it doesn't dread up and get kind of gross stuff in their tail. Like some horses like to pee in themselves, like Gracie does. She's pretty clean. And then the last thing that you can do, if it's a mare or if it's a horse that kind of pees on their butt, is you can take a rag and get it wet and kind of just wipe down here where she's all sweaty. Kind of wipe it off. Get all the crusties. Because it's getting hot now and they get sweaty during the day. Try to clean that up, especially after riding when it's sweaty. And then the last thing you can do is you can take a different rag, not the same rag, and you can wipe off their eyes gently. Wipe off their eyes gently so they don't have any eye boogers, and then their nose as well. And that's basically grooming in a nutshell. Thank you, Ellie. I know she's very chubby right now, but for your clipped horses, you generally want to just do the stiff and body brush. You can do the rest on a clipped horse. They're just more sensitive without the fur. So thank you guys for watching, and yeah.